All right, everyone, we filled up nicely. It is officially 1:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so we're going to get started with today's Wolfe Webinar, Adverse Action. What is it and how to do it? I'm one of your hosts, Alex Cummings from Wolfe Incorporated. Also on the call today, we have Leslie Peterson from Wolfe Incorporated and Sarah Myers from BirdDog HR. BirdDog HR is a wonderful partner of ours. If you have not went to their website and checked them out, please do so. We're also going to provide you with some awesome information on their company today too. They're a great partner of ours, and we appreciate them working with us today on this webinar. The first thing I want to get started with is our legal disclaimer. This presentation is for educational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for legal advice of an attorney knowledgeable in the field or workplace drug testing and alcohol testing. The presenter makes no assurances regarding the accuracy or completeness of the following information: legislative, regulatory law, or case law, and this does apply to background screening, which this webinar is about today. So again, on the call, we have Leslie Peterson. Leslie is our Director of the Background Screening Division at Wolfe Incorporated. She has been with us for over 2 years, leading that department, and she absolutely excels at what she does. She has multiple certifications in her field, and she is an amazing expert. So if you have any questions during the webinar today, we have a Q&A box on the lower part of your screen. Please submit any questions on there, and we will answer all questions at the end of the webinar today. There's also a webinar chat box. If you would like to submit questions on there, you can also do that as well. Again, all questions will be answered at the end of today's webinar. Again, I'm Alex Cummings, the Marketing Manager here at Wolfe Incorporated, and we also have Sarah Myers. She is a Solutions Consultant with BirdDog HR. So BirdDog HR, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah really quick, and she's going to do a little bit of an explaining of what their company is and what they have to offer.
Thanks, Alex, and good afternoon, everyone. BirdDog HR offers software and services to help improve talent management processes, and BirdDog HR's cloud-based talent management software solutions help companies attract and hire top talent, as well as align employee goals with company goals and create succession plans, all while ensuring compliance with the latest government regulations. BirdDog HR also offers managed services, such as an integration with Wolfe Incorporated and their drug and background screening products, which we will explore in a few more minutes as well. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you. So for those on the call today that don't know a whole lot about Wolfe Incorporated and what we have to offer, real quick slide here. We have instant drug testing products that we sell. We have a background screening division. We do everything from pre-employment to adverse action to motor vehicle reports. Everything and anything under the sun. We have a list of over 40 different background screens that we can do across the United States, and we also do have international clients as well. We have a lab services division where we do all of our lab testing, confirmation, and we do have our own in-house MRO. That is a huge selling point on the drug testing side. Most drug testing companies have MROs that they hire out as a third party. We do not. We have one on payroll, and it provides an excellent service for us here. We have program management where we do policy development and review, legal compliance, training on drug testing and background screening. We also have a platform called Wolfe One. The Wolfe One platform is where you can order, pay for, schedule all of your drug tests, background screening, and also driver qualification, file management, and storage needs. It also works amazing for colleges in the healthcare profession whose students are ordering background screens and drug tests in order to be initiated into the college healthcare program of their choice. We have a lot of amazing webinars just like this one here. We have our Wolfe eSmart platform with over 200 courses and programs available online. Everything from supervisors to employees to everything else in between on the Wolfe eSmart platform. It's a wonderful platform, and everything, it just works very smooth for everybody on there. We have an excellent blog section, and we also do bi-weekly newsletters called Wolfe Watch. So for today's agenda, we're going to talk about what is adverse action. Sarah on the call from BirdDog HR is going to do a system demonstration. We're also going to discuss FCRA guidelines to follow, how to stay compliant, and at the very end, we'll do a Q&A session for everybody that has questions. So at this time, I'm going to pass it over to Leslie, and Leslie's going to get into the nitty-gritty of what is adverse action.
Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, everyone. Adverse action is the process that's required by the FCRA if an individual or business does not benefit from it, meaning they're not going to be employed, they will not get a promotion, they may be terminated. A loan or mortgage is also affected by the adverse action, or any benefit is taken away from them because of results on that background report. That is what your adverse action is, and that is what is required by the FCRA regulations. Very important. There are two laws which affect most HR decisions. That's your Equal Credit Opportunity Act and the Fair Credit Reporting Act. When you hear me speaking about the FCRA, it's the Fair Credit Reporting Act that I'm referencing. And it's very important in the background world. We have many regulations and guides we have to adhere to for legal issues and to avoid lawsuits. Some of the hot topics that attorneys may be paying attention to, we'll talk a little bit about today to help you with that. In the next slide.
Yep, let me share my screen here for everyone. All right, so today in the recruitment applicant tracking system, we're going to walk through managing candidates through the recruitment process. And BirdDog HR's recruitment applicant tracking system helps employers distribute jobs with built-in job distribution, help build a talent bench, as well as reduce hiring risk with compliance, and helping you maintain that within the system. So what you're seeing here is some candidates for a position here, and these candidates have first applied for the position and have been pre-screened. So when they applied for this position, they answered a series of questions on the application. Those questions were based on the minimum and preferred qualifications for that position. So this helps the hiring team really focus on their most qualified candidates. Now, after a candidate's information is reviewed in the system, which can be done quickly by navigating throughout these tabs here, then the hiring team can take some additional actions and move that candidate through the recruitment process, which is a configurable workflow here. Some of those actions could be emailing a candidate directly to streamline that communication between the hiring team and the candidate, or even the communication with the hiring manager. So either forwarding on the application for review and feedback, or even built-in scheduling within the system. BirdDog HR clients who have also partnered with Wolfe Incorporated can quickly request background checks and drug screens through the system as well. So today I am going to request a background check here on Dawn Sanders. And if I add a new check here, I can just select the package that has been pre-purchased. And this example here of a basic package is the essential package. So I can see all those particular details of that package and simply just with one click, make the request in the order here. Now, once the order is submitted, the candidate will receive an email with instructions to sign a release form. This will then initiate the pre-employment screening process. And Wolfe Incorporated will process the request and produce a complete background check screen report. That report is then sent right into the BirdDog HR recruitment and applicant tracking system, and with one click here can be viewed. Now, the report, if there is adverse action information that is returned on it, then the next steps, so if there are not adverse action information returned on the report, then the next steps within the system would just be simply following your own recruitment process and maybe making an offer and hiring the candidate. Now, if the report does come back with information resulting in adverse hiring actions, then the client would then reach out to Wolfe Incorporated via email to initiate the pre-adverse action letter. And Leslie, I'll just pass this back to you now to review the adverse action process.
Thank you. As Sarah was speaking of, when you get your background report back, if there's something on there that's allowed to stop the employment or promotion process, then the adverse action begins. Those items, as some of you know, there are many different dispositions, and it's different from state to state. But the FCRA requirements for adverse action, some of the surprising information I'm going to share right now is what can and cannot be used. When you're looking at that report and you're looking at a record for your applicant or your employee, and it says the disposition was dismissed or dismissed by DA, that cannot be used against the applicant by law. You cannot use that. You can use guilty, you can use pending, you can use forfeiture by bond, but dismissed, expunged, and sealed records cannot be used against anyone. The adverse action starts with several different factors. If you make that decision to go with the adverse action, we can prepare that for you, but let's talk a little bit of what the adverse action is. When you make that decision, you prepare the pre-adverse action letter. That is a letter informing the applicant that you would like them to review the attached report and report within a certain amount of time. We recommend 5 business days for them to get back to you or us with their disputes. Those disputes are handled professionally and reinvestigated to see, in fact, if there was a court or user error or if the record stands on its own. If there isn't a dispute, then the final adverse action letter will be sent out. As I said, we select 5 business days just because you have to give them a adequate notice. And 5 business days is the norm for the standard in the industry. As it says on the slide, that's right. As it says on the slide, you're just telling them that you're considering not hiring them based on their background screen. That's very important when you're speaking on this because you have not made up your decision yet. And you need to make sure that you always express that this is to let you know if there's anything wrong or not reported correctly on your report. We send the pre-adverse action letters 2 ways. We send it by email and we send it by postal service. Postal service is a government entity and it submits that report through the government form. We also use email for some of the same reasons. Some of those might be, well, today, in this day and age, people respond to email quicker. They receive it quicker, they receive it instantly. So they're able to look at the report and get back to you or us within minutes or hours. So that's the reason that we use both ways. This slide is telling you, by the FCRA regulations, different states have their own Fair Credit Reporting Acts that may differ from the national. California, Massachusetts, Louisiana, or just Illinois, or just a few that will only allow 7 years. New York is one of those. And so you have to watch, when you're going through what's allowed, when we were talking about the dismissed charges or the expunged or the guilties. You also have to keep in mind the state regulations. What are the rights of the employee? The applicant or employee has the right to dispute the adverse action. We already spoke about that and how they can do that. The applicant employee may contact you or the company that did the background screening or credit check. The agency must reinvestigate all information in that dispute. As I said, if it is correct, if it is incorrect, then we will take appropriate action, notify you, notify the applicant. If the information is correct, then you make your final decision on the adverse action. Will you send that final adverse action? Once that's gone, that hiring process is terminated. And you may be asking, what are these disputes they're talking about? Sometimes we get individuals, and here at Wolfe, I speak to the adverse action individuals because they may think, well, you're here in this state and you can't report anything over 7 years. That is not true. In some states, you can report convictions a limited amount of times. In other places, like we talked about New York, California, is 7 years. So you really have to understand what is and is not allowed with the adverse action process. You could have information that might not be updated, and they think it wasn't updated, but we go strictly by the court records. So what the court records show is what we show. Okay, let's go over real fast. Sarah and I were talking about the process. Let's go over that one more time just so we cover that completely. You have the job applicant sign the release forms. Those are the consent and disclosure forms that we talk about so often. That can be your authorization consent form. That should also be your disclosure form. And your third form should be the summary of rights. As you know, that was updated September of 2018, so please make sure you're using the correct form. And these forms should be given to the applicant or the employee when they're agreeing to the background check. That's very, very important. They don't sign the summary of rights, but they have to have it presented to them in its entirety. Very important. So you get those signed. You start the pre-employment screening. We complete the background check. You get the report and you make your decision. If everything is fine, you're going to hire the applicant. If there are records on there that apply to the adverse action process, then you need to begin the adverse action process. Reasons for adverse action. We went over some of those, the negative criminal record, the negative credit report. You can have criminal monitoring program. This is a program that allows your employee to be put into a system where if anything hits, any criminal activity hits, we would be notified and we would notify you immediately. This is a service which is very important in this day and age because things happen in Facebook, the web, wherever, seems to find out faster than you can. So this is a way to keep your company reputation and safety in check. You can do the adverse action on something that comes up on that criminal monitoring report. You can do it if you can't verify their employment or education. And sometimes your applicant will say, do not contact that job, for some reason. And you do have the right to refuse that hiring based on that refusal. So those are some of the reasons that you may consider an adverse action process.
So Leslie, on the criminal monitoring program that we do here at Wolfe Incorporated, let's elaborate on that just a little bit. We had one question come through. Does the criminal monitoring program show an arrest, or does it only show convictions?
Oh, arrest. It will show arrest if everyone on our team is in that program. If someone, say Alex, went out and got a speeding ticket or did some other crime, I would be notified usually at 6 o'clock the next morning. I would get the notification from the program to pay attention to this, some activity had happened. So it can be hours after the arrest. As soon as he goes into the system, we know about it.
And the system could also include an arrest warrant issued for that person?
Yes, it can. It can include an arrest warrant. It can include a ticket. It actually can also include information on an update for a case. Sometimes you have an arrest, but they're not indicted. That information can come in your criminal monitoring process.
Does the criminal monitoring process also include credit reports and things of that nature, possibly bankruptcy or anything like that?
There are some programs that allow for credit reporting for your criminal monitoring. I would say by far the largest percentage definitely are the criminal monitoring, the criminal records monitor.
That's really great information, and we wanted to include some of that information in this webinar for everybody on here. We did one a couple weeks ago on criminal monitoring. For those of you that weren't a part of that, we wanted to kind of fill in a little bit on that system here. It is a very new system. We've been doing it here at Wolfe Incorporated for a couple years, but a lot of companies don't actually take that to take it to heart and use it. It works wonders. Like Leslie said, everybody that works at our company here at Wolfe Incorporated is on a criminal monitoring program, and it's every day. But you can set up your own criminal monitoring program from daily to weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever it may be that you want to do. You can set different people up for different things too, like Leslie was saying. Your accounting department or the people that are in control of the finances of the company, you may want a different criminal monitoring program from them than, say, your DOT trucking or somebody who's driving a fleet vehicle. If you have people that are driving fleet vehicles, or if you have people who are have a CDL driving your DOT vehicles, you really should have them on a criminal monitoring system, especially one that has to deal with MVRs, your motor vehicle records, because if that person gets some sort of speeding ticket or a DWI or loses their license, they may not tell you. People are not always upfront and honest with an employer. They could have lost their license 2 months ago and you may not know it. They may be driving your fleet vehicles without a license, which comes back to you and your insurance and your own liability as a company. So it's a fantastic program that we have to offer, and we highly recommend it to everybody. I'm going to zip through some very basic marketing information really quick on Wolfe Incorporated. We're going to let BirdDog talk a little bit more about their services, and then we're going to go into a more in-depth Q&A session here. So as Leslie talked about with our background screening division, this is just a very small part of what we have to offer. You know, we research motor vehicle records, we do the criminal monitoring, employment history, education verification, criminal history from national, federal, state, local, all of that stuff we do. For those that are on the call today that live in North Carolina, we actually have an automated system where every day at 5 o'clock, all of the court systems in every county have to upload their information directly to the state database. So every single night at about, 2 o'clock in the morning, I think it is, Leslie?
Yes.
That report is refreshed in the system every single day. So if something happened the day before, you will find out about it the very next day. A lot of states don't do that. More and more are coming on board with it. So North Carolina is one of those. And that's what makes our criminal monitoring system so good here at Wolfe for our North Carolina clients.
And I'd like to say something with that, Alex, if I may. If your business is located or your employee is located in a different state, You need to check and see, because some states will allow criminal monitoring, some will not. So make sure you check on that if it is allowed in your locations.
That's great information, especially like in California. If you're going to run their criminal history as part of a criminal monitoring system, you actually have to have them sign a form every single time you're going to do their criminal monitoring. Whereas in a state like North Carolina, once they sign that sheet of paper, you can run their criminal monitoring as many times as you wish. That's in that form that they sign.
Right. Just so that form has the exact wording in that consent form to allow that. You sure can.
Okay. We also have the Wolfe One platform we discussed earlier. As part of the Wolfe One platform, we have drug testing and background screening, where you can schedule, pay for, and view results all on a very simple and easy to use dashboard. We also have the online training solutions via our Wolfe Smart, driver qualification, file management, and storage needs. You can also do all the MVR reports, and we also have random program management too. The random program management is if you have your CDL or DOT drivers, they need to be tested at 25% every quarter for drug and 10% at every quarter for alcohol. We do all of that management here. So you send us an Excel file, we put that in our random software, and it generates the names of those employees that need to be picked. We also manage in-house any company that wants to do a random program management that isn't federally regulated as well. So we do all of that. Again, the Wolfe Smart platform has over 200 online courses and programs available to everybody. A fantastic tool. I take a different course about every month on here because there's just so much to learn. Everything from Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, all the way up to being a supervisor and how to deal with employees that may have problems, all the way to, we have an active shooter program. There's just a vast array of different things that you can do on this platform. On this slide here, I'm not going to go too in depth on it, but we have our background and drug testing services here. We have collection sites all around the United States, nationwide. So if you're on this call today and you are not in North Carolina, we have a collection site near you that we can get your samples and do all of your lab services as well. Our Wolfe Incorporated information here, our background screening division is located in Asheville. Their phone number is 1-800-230-2991, and their email is background@wolfeincorporated.com. For those of you that are trying to write that down, you can put your pen and paper down. You don't have to. I will send you a PDF copy of this presentation after the webinar has concluded this afternoon, so no need to be writing all that stuff down. I'm going to pass it over really quick to Sarah Myers at BirdDog, and she's going to talk a little bit more about BirdDog, and then we're going to go directly into our Q&A session for everybody.
Thanks, Alex. If anyone else on the phone would like to learn more about BirdDog HR's software and services, then just give us a call or shoot us an email, and one of our customer care representatives will be happy to direct you to the appropriate contact. And then on our website, BirdDogHR.com, we also offer a variety of free talent management resources. So we have blogs and white papers, webinars similar to Wolfe webinars as well. So check us out and learn more, and let us know how we can help.
Thank you, Sarah, for that. We appreciate it. We appreciate BirdDog's partnership on this webinar, and also everything else that we do with you guys on the back end. You're a terrific partner of ours, and we appreciate it very much. So Leslie, we got some questions we're going to bounce off you here.
Okay.
So one of the questions that came across is, can you give a generalization of what ban the box means?
Ban the box. Ban the box is where you ask your employee or potential employee to inform you of any charges that they have had against them, any convictions, or any criminal activity, regardless of what the outcome is. That's where you're asking. Those are really going further and further away because so many states are outlawing asking that during the hiring process. So if you're thinking about using that, you may want to check and make sure that it's allowed in that area.
If an applicant has a misdemeanor or felony conviction, is it okay to exclude them from further consideration based upon that?
It is. It's your company policy, and I can't stress enough to make sure you have a written policy for your company on how you're going to decide if someone will be hired or not. This is one of those areas. If your company policy states we will not hire for misdemeanor convictions if they fall in these category states, someone might say if it's violence or drugs or sexual nature or theft, then we will not hire. It doesn't have to be a felony. It can be a misdemeanor, just so you have that written in your policy.
And do we at Wolfe Incorporated offer policy reviews regarding the background screening?
I'll be happy to help you with that. If you would send me your information, you and I can go over that information together, and I can give you any tips or information I can do that might help you along with your policy to make sure things are covered.
That's great information to know. Thank you for that, Leslie.
Uh-huh.
If anybody has any other adverse action questions, we do have the Q&A box up, and we also have the chat box up. So if anybody has any questions for our panelists today, we're more than happy to answer those questions. We are at 1:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so we're going to stay on here for a few minutes. If anybody does have any questions, and it can be anything regarding background screening, FCRA, pre-adverse action, adverse action, or if you just want to know a little bit more about BirdDog HR and what they have to offer, shoot us those questions over. Anything and everything is much appreciated. The more knowledge you have, the better decision you can make for yourself and your company. So Leslie, is there anything else you want to elaborate on regarding adverse action or FCRA?
I just want to elaborate a little bit more on the adverse action process. The adverse action, as I stated, is when someone will not receive benefit because of something on their background report. And I know a lot of smaller companies or companies, period, don't process adverse action when they do not hire someone. I cannot stress strong enough, you've got to do this by the FCRA regulations. You have to complete the adverse action process anytime someone does not benefit because of something negative on any of their background reports. Very important. Doesn't matter the size of your company, or you can't say it's your company policy not to do adverse action. You got to do it.
So what would happen to a company if they don't do adverse action?
Well, unfortunately, they can have legal issues. One of them being, you can have someone who completes their background report and you said, okay, we're not going to hire you and that's it, and you didn't do the adverse action. They may be knowledgeable enough to contact an attorney because you gave them wide open ability for a lawsuit because you did not do the adverse action process, and you have to. So it could be a big financial hardship if you do not do the adverse action.
So we talked about a couple days during the FCRA guidelines. Is there a specific amount of days that you have between the pre-adverse action and the final adverse action letter?
I'm sorry, Alex. Were you asking if there's about the 5 days between the pre and the final?
Correct.
Yes, it's worded where it is a substantial, adequate amount of time between those two actions. So again, that's up to you, but we do highly recommend the 5-day thing. That's what we have comfort with. We have yet to have anyone contact me and say, well, I didn't have enough time. Of course, it could be because we send out with the emails also, but that would be another check mark for the email side. But you also want to do the hard copy postal delivery. You know, it takes just seconds, and if you're with our company in this setup where our background system set up, all you have to do is go in there and look and click on information, and the letters are prepared for you. So it's very easy to do, and you can save those in that order. That way, if anything ever comes back, you've got everything documented. When that was printed out, it will show on the order form. It will show the pre and the final adverse if you decide to put it in there. Easy as we can.
Awesome. So we had a couple questions come through again, so I'll read them off to you.
Okay.
Our first question comes from Lene. Is the criminal background check only looking back 7 years, or can we as a company look back at everything?
It depends on your location. If you're in North Carolina, you can look back for as long as history, as long as the records are available. And most other states you can also. Again, there's some states that you cannot go past the 7 years, but most of them you can. North Carolina, you can. In Iowa, I'm going to have to check on that and see what the legal information is on Iowa, but I'll let you know on that. Alex, do you have her email information? I'd like to follow up on that.
Yes, I do. I will send it to you after the webinar today.
All right, we'll let you know.
Thank you, Lene, for your question. We appreciate it very much.
Yes, we do.
And we had another question come through from Kelly. Do you have to send a pre-adverse action letter before the adverse action letter, or can you just send an adverse action notice?
No, you by law have to send that pre-adverse action letter. That's your opportunity and the employee's opportunity to say if something's wrong. They have to have that legal right. And so they have to get that notification. And yeah, both are required.
And as part of that requirement, we do recommend that it's at least 5 business days, too, that you wait in between both of those letters. In between those, does it have to be a physical letter, Leslie, or can it be an email? Can it be a phone call? What would be the guidelines for that?
Well, there's not any strict guidelines on that, but you want to protect yourself and your company. So I would highly recommend, that's the reason we do the way we do it, is to send out a hard copy through the postal service and an email. Again, the hard copy is just because you followed that procedure. If you do that on everyone and you have a copy of that and you say this was mailed, they're going to realize that is your policy, you did mail that, so you're covered. With an email, you could say that, but then somebody can come back and say, well, I didn't see that. And that was in my spam or what have you. So you could do the email, but I would not recommend it by itself.
Good to know. And everybody that's on the call today, if you have an adverse action that you need to do, please call us at Wolfe Incorporated and ask for our background screening division, and we can walk you through those steps, or we can actually do the adverse action piece for you as well, just in case you're concerned about the legal ramifications and requirements. We can do all of that stuff on our side for you there. So let's say during a background screen, Leslie, that something comes back that is against our company policy, and that pre-employment person wants to dispute it. What are the steps for them to dispute it, and how long would it take to get their dispute back?
If someone disputes the information on the criminal portion of the background check, I usually can verify that information directly with that county court and with the clerk of courts and find out the information and the standing on that to see if there's anything different than what's in their database for that county. Each county has their own system for keeping their records, and we go into most of those. There are some we're not allowed into, some that people have to actually walk in and get that information, but even those are pretty good about helping us make sure that is the current information. And sometimes you'll have an employee or a potential employee that has an EE, and that's where they've gone to the court and they've had records expunged or sealed. You really have to know how to read those, because sometimes it can be, we had a case yesterday, well, I had a case yesterday where the papers were sent to me showing that charges were expunged and that they should not be reported. And I said, I agree, they should not be reported. And we looked at the report and they were not on our background report, but another location had expedited the individual from North Carolina to Tennessee. And that expedited record was still legal and it still was reportable by the FCRA. So you really have to understand what those forms mean and what the implications are on that. Sorry, I get excited sometimes on these subjects if I talk too much.
We can tell that you love doing this. You have a very, very big passion for background screening.
I do.
It's appreciated. Lene, we would recommend a certified mail with a signature and overnight get that to the applicant or the pre-employment, whatever it may be, for the pre-adverse action and adverse action. That way you're hitting it 3 different ways. They're getting it the very next day. It is in certified mail, and you're also getting a signature of somebody at that home or business, whatever it may be, that they received that letter. So there's no questions asked. That would be the process that we would recommend for that. So if anybody else has any other questions, again, we have our Q&A box up and running. We also have our chat box up. And I'm going to take a really quick moment right now. I want to release our poll. If you guys would, please hop on there quick. There's 4 very quick questions. We want you to rate our webinar today on the 1 to 10 scale, 1 being not good, 10 being excellent. How likely are you to recommend Wolfe Incorporated to a colleague after watching our webinar today? 1 being not likely, 10 being very likely. What type of HR solutions does your organization currently utilize? And that is a multiple choice. And also, is your current program management software integrated with your internal systems, meaning ATS integration? So if everybody on the webinar today would just take a few moments to fill that out, we greatly appreciate it. That helps us determine how good of a webinar that we did today, and also what we're going to do in the future for further webinars relating to drug testing and background screening here at Wolfe Incorporated and with our partners at BirdDog HR. Sarah, would you like to say anything in closing from BirdDog?
No, I just appreciate everyone's time this afternoon and for Wolfe Incorporated for including us in the webinar as well. But again, anything that we can help anyone on the call with, let us know. Again, check out our website for a lot of great resources.
Thank you, Sarah. And again, I'm going to add that the webinar today was being recorded, and we will get that towards the end of the week out to everybody in an email. We'll upload it to our YouTube channel, and I will send everybody who registered and all attendees today on the call that email with that link, so you can go back and view this again too. And the PowerPoint presentation that we did today will be emailed to everybody in a PDF format. So you'll be able to go slide by slide and better grasp and understand what we were talking about today, just in case you have some further questions down the road. So if anybody else has any questions, we'll stay on here another minute longer. We have the chat box up if anybody wants to ask a question there, and we also have the Q&A up. Any questions relating to adverse action, background screening, and the BirdDog HR software that you saw earlier today? If you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer those. We want to be the industry source of customer service and knowledge, so anything that you guys want to throw at us, we're more than happy to help answer and get things squared away. Leslie, is there anything else that you want to discuss today before we close?
No, just to let everyone know, if you have any questions or anything, that I and my background team and I are always available to answer any questions you have. And I'm always excited to help someone with any questions on dispositions, or what a charge means, or what does that actually stand for. We're always available.
Thank you, Leslie. So we didn't have any other questions come through. So at this time, we're going to conclude today's webinar. Again, the webinar today was recorded. I will get that recording out to everybody via YouTube link later on this week. And we will also send the presentation to everybody in the PDF format later on this week as well. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to us at marketing@Wolfe Incorporated, WOLFEINC.com, or you can call us directly at 1-800-230-2991. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on board from BirdDog HR. We appreciate your time today. And Leslie, thank you again as always. It's wonderful to have you on a call and learn about your vast knowledge regarding background screening and our topic at hand today, adverse action. So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, and thank you and Sarah. I enjoyed it, as you could tell.
So I'm Alex again with Wolfe Incorporated, and we will be signing off. Thank you, everybody who signed on today and registered for our webinar. We hope that you were able to learn some information regarding adverse action. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us at Wolfe Incorporated. We hope everybody has a great week and a fantastic weekend. Thank you.
If you would like more information on Wolfe services, give us a call at 1-800-230-2991 or visit our website at www.wolfeinc.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put out new videos all the time. Thank you for watching this video from Wolfe, your trusted source for employer solutions.